Okay, this is a video for a lot of people that have wanted to see the P99 in use, but you know, there's a lot of people online who just have the P99 and they'll put a video up and they'll just play songs and they'll be like, oh, this is my great setup, but I'm not going to show you how to use it. So those of you who are looking at the P99, it's very hard to say that you want it without seeing it in person. I was fortunate enough to have two people in the city that I was in at the time to demo it, you know, touch it, get an idea of how it worked before I used it. Other than that, it's kind of hard to describe. A few things about it. Let's see. Let's turn this air down a little bit. It's a beautiful looking unit. The glossy finish does kind of collect a little bit of dust. It's going to be hard to really see in this video, but the knobs right at the bat are the worst part about them. They're very hard to use. Not hard, but not easy by any means. The volume knob is much worse than the multifunction knob. I personally have it set up through the steering wheel control using a PAC interface device. Personally, I wasn't using that on my first 2 or 3 head units, and I was like, oh, I'll try it on my last head unit, the Pioneer 930PT, and once I got it, I was instantly hooked on it. For this head unit specifically, I would say it's a must. This head unit really isn't designed for daily drivers, although that's what I'm always going to use it for. I mean, they demoed in like Aston Martins, like, it's not your everyday driver. Like, people don't spend $1,200 on a head unit unless you're kind of psychopathic, I guess. I don't know. Or just have a whole bunch of money to spend on a head unit. So the number one reason I got it was because it had 2 knobs. The first head unit I ever had 2 knobs, and I guess because the fact that I wanted the 2 knobs was probably the main reason. My hands are going to be a little bit shaky in this video. I just got done working out. The main reason I like it is because of the 2 knobs. My first head unit was a Kenwood BT838U, I think it was. But it was just easier, you know. A lot of stock head units, or interfaces, I guess you would say, have 1 knob for the volume, 1 knob for every other feature, like folder management, navigating through your stuff. It just makes it easier. That's a fact. On my steering wheel, I have volume, folder navigation. I set the mode at mute, the ATT function, and I've gone back and forth whether or not I want it to be the mute function or the pause function. I find that the mute button is better because whenever I'm pulling up to like a drive-through or anything, I can mute it, and it can go down to like it's still audible, but it'll go back up. Now, if I'm getting ready to turn off the vehicle, I'm usually having it on like 38 or 40. I'll hit mute, and then from mute, if you hit volume down, it stays at that volume. So like it'll go down to like 16 out of 40. And that's perfect volume for when you start your car. Like, it's not loud, it's like decent volume, you can hear it, but it's not, over your conversation or anything. Diving right into it, it's with a simple click of a button, it just turns on. That's a lot of people put the mode button on their steering wheel for other head units as source. And for this head unit, I really find that it's not necessary. You just press source, go to aux, you can go to tuner, USB. I don't have the Bluetooth module on this because I don't stream through Bluetooth, and that's kind of like a slap in the face to even use Bluetooth. I don't use aux either. It's for my friends, and it was like a $35 option, so I was like, let's get aux, because everybody gets in the car and they're like, oh, do you have like, a connector for my phone or my iPod, whatever, and they're like, oh, I can't just plug it in. Like, people aren't smart enough to use the interface. Anyway, from the head unit, there's 5 buttons. They're kind of hard to see. One is the EQ, and it won't work unless I have a source plugged into it. The time button, which will show the time whenever the unit's off. The display will go through the different things to display, like artist, album. They'll have like a little bar that'll show you how long into the song you are. And this is for the bands, for the different, like FM, AM, FM2, FM3. Don't really play with that a whole lot. Open. there's been a lot of people that have said they don't really use CDs a whole lot on this unit. The two people that had the unit in my town was one guy who was the installer at a local shop of mine, and then his rich friend who bought him his. The first one, who has it in a Corvette, only uses the unit through the iPod, and my friend only uses it with CDs. There's been a lot of like different situations where people have said that because of the fact you can open it and take it off, there's a very, I don't know if I can get a shot of it or not, but there's a very thin contact underneath there, and it's a very small ribbon cable. They have a lot of people that have said the ribbon cables will go out and they won't work anymore, they'll have to get it replaced, and I don't use CDs enough to worry about it, so I just, I have it where it just doesn't get in my way. My main source is a iPod I'll be using today. I just got it, actually, so, and I don't have a huge amount of songs, but this is me hooking up my iPod. Go. So, right here we have, let's see. If you go into display and turn it off, it'll show, the song, the name of the song, the artist, album. You can go. There's a few different options. There's not really a clean looking option. It'll show like the voltage of your car at the time. Mine's 13.3. It's a Toyota 4Runner. The time, you can have it with that. There's really too much information to be displayed on this tiny screen, to be honest. It's definitely not a deal breaker or anything, but they probably could have done a little bit better on that. If you go into the settings, you'll have display, function, and audio. So we start with display. Display is just, your little videos. Let me try the video. There we go. There's a spectrum analyzer. They have a left and right spectrum analyzer. They have these little VU meters that look really cheap, in my opinion. And then off. So there's not a whole lot of options. I usually keep it on the spectrum analyzer just to have something pretty to look at when I'm looking at my head unit. Overall, the unit is pretty beautiful. I mean, it's simple. Like, no one's gonna steal it. They're gonna think, oh, it's like a $100 unit. They're not gonna be like, most people aren't gonna recognize this as being a P99 or anything. Past the display, you go into function. Control mode, you can set it to either audio or iPod. Pause. Another thing, pause shouldn't have to be, you should have to go into your settings to turn on pause. That's why I was kind of iffy about the whole pause and then the mode button on the steering wheel. Audiobooks, I haven't even looked into that. Play mode, repeat all. I usually like it on repeat one, but it's a whatever. Shuffle mode's off because that drives me nuts. Link play. There's a lot of little functions I haven't even looked at yet, like link play. I'm assuming that takes you to other artists of other songs of the same artist. And then it goes back to control mode. You hit band to get back to your last page. Audio is really your holy grail on this thing. Like, the main reason I got this was to go active, and actually currently I'm not active. I'm going passive through crossover, but it just sounds phenomenal, so I'm not really going to worry about it a whole lot. I like the idea that I can expand if I want to. I can go active, but bi-amping my crossover is more than enough for me right now. I'm only using low and mid on here. I'm not using the high frequency or the subwoofer currently because my subs are at my friend's shop being displayed until I get a new box built, and my amp just got ordered yesterday. It's going to be the Arc Audio 2500.1, and I don't know. So anyway, but basically on the audio settings, you go into the low. You can set it anywhere from 63 down to, I mean, if you look at the specs alone on the unit, you can easily tell, what the different bands are, the different crossover points. Then you can go on different slopes, time alignment. You can change it in and out of phase. You can independently increase the decibel level of like say like you want the left mid to be higher. You can go in there, you hold down the button, and it'll set right, and then you click it again, it'll go to the left, and you hold it back, and it'll go to both. I mean, it's a little tricky but like within 15 to 20 minutes you can completely learn it. I have played with time alignment a little bit. There's a few different settings in here. There's the auto, and then I tweaked it a little bit, but I haven't really been using it. I find that I've actually been playing with the idea of using just decreasing the decibels of certain drivers. That way it's not like completely messing up the soundstage of the passenger, because usually I do have 2 to 3 other people in the car with me. For EQ, there is 6 different EQs. Notice I play with that one a tiny bit, but there's 6 EQs, 5 EQs and then flat. I'm just keeping it on a flat right now until I get some kind of RTA going. I haven't purchased anything yet, but the audio EQ I didn't find was a good idea. Again, even a radio this caliber, you're using like a $10, $20 microphone. It's not going to be able to accurately set up any of your equipment the way a professional would. So I would not suggest auto EQ. Auto time alignment's a little different. It's a good basis point, but you still want to tweak it, listen to it. The big thing I like about this unit particularly is you can turn on the high and you can turn off the high and the low. The mid you cannot. I am a little mad about that. But it makes time alignment a hell of a lot easier when you're just listening to tweeters. You can tell, okay, this one doesn't sound even, this one doesn't sound that, like it's the right distance. Big plus there on turning those off individually. Sound retrieval, I don't use it. It's one of those little gimmicks. Even if it is better on this unit, I don't care. It's like it's getting your ears used to a false sound, because you're not going to have it on all head units. Even if you do, I mean, you're trying to retrieve music that you can't because it's already been compressed. I mean, files don't work like that. Loud functionality off. SLA is something that my friend uses on certain of his CDs. I don't use SLA because, again, it's boosting a signal, and I've never really been a fan of trying to boost the signal that was already there. It was already always loud enough for me or clear enough for me. It just wasn't my thing. Balance, again, 0. Position is the front left. That's for the auto EQ. You can't do the auto EQ if you don't have a position selected. So it doesn't really matter a whole lot though. So that's all the audio settings. Trying to think. The auto EQ mic goes in under here, right there. It doesn't have aux on the front, so you did have to buy the separate adapter. My friend actually got the Bluetooth module out of another guy's car who wasn't using it, and he asked the guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll take it." So he's gonna use the Bluetooth module a little bit, but again, not my thing. The biggest thing a lot of people have wanted to see is the folder navigation. So I'm sorry if you had to watch all this. I'll put a link in the description to say, go to so many minutes. Basically, you turn it left or right. And on an iPod, on a CD, if you're on Tuner, it'll go to your presets, which again, your presets are, like, everything's super easy to set up. It just takes about 20 to 30 minutes of playing with, just like every other head unit. But say you go to playlists or artists. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot of Daft Punk, Deafmouse. Let's go to Foster the People, just for example. And then you just, instead of, you go left to get out of the current folder, right to go into the current folder. You press it in to select it. And I mean, it's pretty simple. You just go to volume up. But I mean, and when you press left or right, or when you roll it around, it'll go, it'll still be in the folder you're currently in. And then you hit back, just go down. The right knob is pretty sensitive, where it'll go down far. It's not like overly sensitive. If I wanted to like go to this one, that's not a problem. But like, say you wanted to like scroll down really quickly, it will go up pretty quickly. I found that the little beeping noise, I don't know if y'all can hear that or not, probably can, but it is just like, it's killing me. And it really is a pet peeve of mine. When you use the volume knob, that sucks, like you can't grip this thing. It doesn't click. When you use this, it clicks. And I don't understand why they engineered it like that, or if it was just something they didn't really care about at the time. Again, there's a lot of things that could have gone into this unit to make it a little bit easier to use. Better knobs. The fact that you can change the colors and everything on it, like that you can change this to red and this to blue and all that, those colors. If you want to do that, that's fine, but you can't change the color of the display. It's going to be white and black. It's OLED. I mean, it's okay. It's not super bright. That was a complaint of mine personally, because I've always loved my head units to be blinding me at night. You know, call me crazy. The previous head units I've had, they've all been much brighter than this. It's not really a problem at all. Like, it's still completely fine. Like, it's the glare is non-existent. I don't know if that's because of the OLED or if it's just the way they made. I don't know. Like, I don't know what kind of paneling they used on the front to cover the OLED screen, but it just doesn't have glare. At least in my vehicle, where I have had glare in the past with my other head units. My previous head units have been the Kenwood BT 838U, the Alpine 117, the Pioneer 930 BT, and then this. Out of all my head units, I've liked something particularly about them all. The Kenwood, the folder navigation, the exact same as this, with better knobs. The Alpine 117 definitely had the best look, I think. I loved how it was super bright. You know, I'm a sucker for wallpapers, so the little gear animation like really did it for me. I wish you could like download wallpapers for this, but you can't. I mean, that's just a pipe dream I have. The Alpine was a great unit. It sounded good. You couldn't get to your folders at all. I'm sorry if anyone else thinks differently. You're wrong. The Pioneer 930 BT was really a great unit. My problem with it was it wasn't real glass. Like, even on the Pioneer app radio, it's a little bit better because it actually feels like real glass, but it's not. And that was actually a really bad unit, but like the software was terrible. But you know, the physical look of it and the feel of it was better. I was thinking about going to an iPad instead of this, but between the price of the iPad, the installation, and then probably the bit one that I would get with it, it just wasn't worth the time and installation, because I don't plan on keeping this car for more than 2 to 3 years. To say that one sounded better than the other, I don't really know, because this is the best sounding unit I've heard, on the second best speakers I've heard. So, just personal situation, like I've never seen or heard anything better than this. And I've heard this on like 3 or 4 other types of speakers. The Polk SRs, some Polk DBs that actually really didn't sound bad on this unit. There was a big difference between Polk DBs on this unit versus the old Pioneer Premier they had on the my friend's test bench. Because we tried a few different things. There was a few issues I ran into, but it was completely my fault. But yeah, like 20 to 30 minutes, you'll completely have this unit down. I would say that the ease of use for the everyday driver is not going to be great. I mean, unless you have steering wheel controls or get them installed from the dealership, or get the controls and have them taken somewhere and have them put on your steering wheel, the volume knob's really going to suck. Like, actually, also another thing, the steering wheel controls are a lot faster than the volume knob. Just, you know, in comparison, like, it would take forever. It would take a lot longer using the volume knob than it just does to do this. So, looking back, that's probably a bad song to show y'all, but I don't know if I have any really great stuff on here yet. I'm in the process of redoing my entire library, so I'm kind of limited. A little bit of Led Zeppelin. Let's go to the London Philharmonic and see what we can get there. This is their greatest game soundtrack. And by the way, my camera is on the it's an iPhone 4S, but it's not really great on capturing it. But the OLED screen really does do a phenomenal job of being super crisp. Like, there's not a whole lot of better looking screens. If it was bigger, it'd be pretty much perfect. Let's see, let's just do Halo 3, because probably a lot of people know that one. This will be like a little preview. Okay, so, just as a little last minute thing, probably should have done this earlier, but oh well. If you turn the unit off to go into the other functionality, you can turn the unit off simply by holding down the source button. You hold this down for about 5-6 seconds, and you go into language select. The SP connections are where you go into setting all the subwoofer, the low, and the high. The mid is not able to be turned off. I'm not really sure why they chose to do that. I guess it wasn't worth it for them, or it was a headache or something they ran into. Clock functions, warning tone, I'm not really sure what that is. P99 comes with a wire for 2 mutes, actually. It comes with a mute that you can tie into your door wiring, your stock wiring, whereas when the door is open, it'll automatically mute itself. That was a stupid idea, in my opinion. I don't know why they chose to do that. I mean, it's a nice. I guess it's a nice extra function if you wanted it. My friend who helped me install the unit said like it'd be like another half an hour extra to worry about that, and it really wasn't worth it to me because I wanted to be able to open my door without it automatically, turning off or muting. Not turning off. The face auto open button goes back to the idea that the unit will, when you turn off the car, the unit will auto open the face, which is stupid because, like I said, after so long, like say a year or two, the ribbon cable will start having problems getting connected. The whole thing has to be taken out, repaired. It's just a headache I don't really care about, and I don't really use CDs that much, so it wasn't worth using. They have 2 different auxes you can turn on. I'm using the second one, which is in the rear. The first one I think is for, I think you can have 2 through the back, but I'm not sure, to be honest. I know mine works, so I just didn't really care about the first one. The dimmer I have off, if you turn it on, like there's not a huge amount of difference. It goes into brightness settings. I don't know how well you're able to see this, but if you go and you set it all the way down to 0, it's actually pretty dark. You really can't tell from the phone, but yeah. And it's not super bright. Like, it doesn't get super dark and it doesn't get super bright, so I don't really know why. And then they have like this little illumination, and it goes white, and you can go bright at 0, bright at -1, and that doesn't really change anything. So Like, the brightness does not get any brighter. You can go into like the red and the orange and the amber, blue, green, and you can custom set it if you want, and that's just not worth it for anybody. The illumination light is actually a pretty cool function. I'm going to go into this. If you turn this on, the rings around your head unit, your volume knobs on the head unit, will not turn on until you turn your lights on at night. It's a pretty neat little extra feature they threw in. It's not great. My friend doesn't like it. I don't care either way. I just like to leave it on because I like the unit to be completely on all the time, like every single light lit up in my face. Digital ATT is for like the muting feature. I set it to high. Audio reset is like if you want to reset all your crossover settings, which would like take a total of 10 minutes to reset, so it's not really worth it. Door mute, not worth it. Normal mute, door mute 2. Reverse mode is something where it goes back and forth from black to white and white to black. It's for the OLED, so it doesn't get burnt in. Of all the forums, and my friend and my friend's friend, who all have P99s, I've never heard of anyone having burn-in on the P99. There was an issue with another unit. I'm not familiar with one he said, but he said he got burn-in once, just for like the little voltage meter area. The ever scroll is like when the stuff scrolls on the screen. You can turn it on, turn it off. I just leave it on. It doesn't bother me. But that's pretty much the entire unit. It's the P99. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. I have a little, like, I don't know what you call it, windshield visor thing to make sure there's no sun. I try to get a better idea of how it's going to look in your car. I live in Louisiana, so it's really hot all the time. Like, it's 88 right now, and it's probably got like a humidity factor of like 93 or something. Like, it's ridiculous. But I mean, overall, it's a pretty soft unit. Like, you can't get really better than it. There's even a pause. Like, there's like a 2 to 3 second pause in between sources, so you have time to like turn off your stuff or like turn it down lower. You get 6 presets. They're not super hard to get to. They're not super easy to get to. I don't know who on YouTube still uses the internet, but that sounds stupid. Anyone who on YouTube who still uses the radio, but I don't. I use Pandora sometimes. Pandora will work on this unit. That was one of my big things going from the 930 BT. I wanted to make sure I could still use it. I think there's a certain feature you have to do first. Like, you have to play it and then plug it in, or plug it in and then play. Like, there's a certain order you have to go into. But it will work. You will be able to go to your next track. You will be able to like affect the volume and everything. You can't obviously rate it. There's no like Pandora mode on here. There's a control function from the head unit, which that might be how you have to do it. It's been so long I haven't used Pandora. But if you have any questions, like if you still can use Pandora, I'll look it up and I'll let you know. But yeah, this is the P99. If you're curious what speakers they were Alpine Type X Pros. It's a good sounding setup. It's run through an Arc Audio KS300.4. I mean, it sounds clean to me. Other people will say, you know, this amp is garbage, or those are in the wrong location. My big thing is my tweeters like suck in the location they're at. Like, I can easily tell it just brings the sound down and it's terrible. But that's my setup. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or message me through YouTube. Not a problem at all. It's a great unit. I chose it because I wanted it, and it was and is currently the